Hey class, welcome back to week 6 here of remote learning. So most of you, hopefully you've seen my post by now, right? We're going to be finishing up with algebra this year on May 22nd, which means we only have 7 more classes together. All right, so I hope you can take these next, 2.5 weeks, essentially 7 days of algebra, and just try your best and learn as much as you can learn. And this would be a good practice for next year because, we don't know what the fall will look like. All right. So we're going to just keep working along here, do some lessons, do some practice. All right. And that's how we're going to end the year. All right. So today's lesson, all right, is going to be on factoring to solve quadratic equations. All right. So hopefully you didn't forget every single thing we did about factoring last week, because we're going to use those skills from last week. Plus, we're going to use that zero product property that we learned on Tuesday and kind of put that all together here. Okay. So if you can, again, print out these notes so you can follow along as I'm doing this. Otherwise, right, on a separate sheet of paper, write down these example problems in practice. All right. That's the only way you can get better at these math problems is by doing the practice work. All right. So that being said, all right, we're going to do a little bit of looking back here. All right, so we've learned 2 types of factoring. All right, the first kind is this GCF, or greatest common factor. Right, so when we have this type of problem, we are going to list out the factors. Right, that's those numbers on the line there. Right, we're going to find the greatest common factor, and then we're going to factor it out. Right, our GCF is going to go on front, and kind of what's left over is going to go back into our parentheses. All right. I did forget to mention that we probably want to take out that factors chart. Okay, hopefully you did not get rid of that factors chart because we needed it last week, and again we're going to need it again for today's lesson and for the review on Friday as well. Okay, if you did forget it or lose it or misplace it, right, I put another copy of it in this week's folder in week 6 here. All right, so this document here, this factors chart document, you want to have this out as well when you're doing today's notes and today's homework and for Friday's lesson as well. All right. So going back to here, all right, so that's the first type is the GCF, or greatest common factor, right? And the second type is the trinomial, right? That's where we have that ax squared plus bx plus c, right? 3 terms makes up our trinomial, all right? And we have that type of problem, right? We want to find the factors of our last term, or that c value, that add up to that middle term, or our b value. All right, and your solution will be the product of 2 binomials. All right, this is where we have our 2 sets of parentheses, right, with an x and an x. All right, so let's do some solving by factoring. All right, so here we're going to solve the polynomial equation by factoring first and then using that zero product property to solve. All right, so this is going to require more steps, right? Because we're going to have to factor first and then we're going to have to solve. All right, so our first example here, we have 2x squared plus 8x is equal to 2. All right, so again, with these lines, we're going to fill out all the factors of 2x squared, right? And the factors of 2x squared are going to be x, right? Remember, we put our x's here at the end, and then my factors of 2 is just 1 times 2. And now for 8x, right, I have my x, I have 1 times 8, and I have 2 times 4. All right, again, if we need to reference what numbers we need to put in the lines, right, that's why we're going to use our factors chart here, right, and we can see our factors of 8 are 1 and 8 and 2 and 4. All right, so after we list out our factors, right, we're going to circle now, right, our greatest common factor, right, and sometimes I'll have greatest common factor of numbers, sometimes it's letters, and sometimes it's numbers and letters. All right, so if I'm looking at my numbers, I see a 2 that's in common, and I see an x that's in common, so therefore, my GCF is 2x, right? And my GCF is going to go out in front. And now I got to fill in my parentheses, right? How do I get back to my original problem? All right. And again, if you remember, I have to fill this in with how do I get back to 2x squared? Well, 2 times 1 gives us that 2. And I have this extra x. So then in this box here, or in this line, I need to put 1x or just x. All right, and now I have to get back to 8x. So 2x times what will give us back to 8x? Well, 2's partner is 4. So that means my 4 goes down there, right? I don't have any x's, so it just stays as a 4. All right, but now that we did the factoring part, now I need to do the solving part using that zero product property. All right, when I'm doing that property, right, that means that this factor of 2x is equal to 0, and this x plus 4 is also equal to 0. Right? So one of these two things have to be equal to 0, so I set both of them equal to 0, and then I solve for both. All right, which hopefully with that practice with that IXL, you guys were able to pick this up, right? So for this one, right, we divide both sides by 2, and x is equal to 0 divided by 2, which is 0. All right, so one of my solutions is x equals 0. And my other solution here, right, I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides, and we get x is equal to -4. So those are my two solutions. All right, and now example 2, right, we have 14x squared plus 21x is equal to 0. All right, so again, I'm going to list out my factors of 14x squared. Well, x squared has an x and an x, right? 14 is 1 times 14, and it's 2 times 7. And for 21x, I have an x, I have 1 times 21, and I have 3 times 7. All right, so now that I listed out all my factors here, I'm going to find my greatest common factor. All right, so again, I'm looking for numbers and or letters. All right, so I see a 7 in common with both, and they both have an x in common. So therefore, my GCF is 7x. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. All right, so we have our GCF here of 7x. All right, and now we got to factor out the rest of this. All right, so how do we get back to 14x squared? Well, 7's partner is 2, so that's going to go here. And I also have this extra x, so that needs to go in this first spot here, right? Because 7x times 2x gives me my 14x squared. All right, now I got to do the same thing for this 21x, right? I got to get back to 21x after taking out this 7x. All right, well, 7's partner is 3, so I got to put that 3 there. All right, and I use up the x, so I don't have anything else to put in. So it's just going to be that 3. And again, this kind of makes sense, right? Because 7x times 3 gives me my 21x here. All right, so now that I factor this, now I'm ready to solve. All right, so again, using this zero product property, I'm going to take this product here of 7x, and I'm going to set that equal to 0, and I'm going to solve this one by dividing by 7, and 0 divided by 7 is just 0. So that's one of my solutions. And I'm going to take this other product here of 2x plus 3, and I'm going to set that equal to 0 as well. All right, and when I solve this one, right, you subtract 3 from both sides. So then you get 2x is equal to -3. And now I divide by 2, divide by 2. All right, and again, if I have a fraction that doesn't reduce, I'm just going to leave it as a fraction that doesn't reduce. So my x is equal to -3/2 also, right? So those are my two solutions. All right, and now we're going to do a little bit of the trinomial ones, all right? These are always been my favorite to do, so hopefully you will enjoy these as much as you can. All right, so example 3, we have x squared plus 8x plus 15 is equal to 0. All right, so again, for these, we're finding factors of my last term or my c value, right, that add to my b value or my middle term. All right, and again, if you don't have these, if you're not able to print these out, right, we can just make a simple t-chart here by drawing a line down here, and we draw a horizontal line across and make a T. All right, and instead of writing out the words factors of, right, we're really looking for numbers that multiply to 15, but that add to 8. All right, so now we're going to list out those factors of 15. All right, again, if we don't know the factors, we can go back to this factors chart, but my only factors of 15 are 1 and 15 and 3 and 5. So I'm going to list those out, 1 and 15 and 3 and 5. All right, so in the notes here, all these are going to be positive. In the homework, I'll add in 2 additional problems with different signs, all right? So since these are all positive, I just have to list these numbers once. All right, and it's either 1 and 15 that add to 5 or 3 and 5 that add 8. I'm sorry, 1 and 15 that add to 8 or 3 and 5 that adds to 8. Well, my only pair that adds to 8 is going to be this 3 and 5. Right, 3 plus 5 is 8. So then that means I can factor this now as x plus 3 times x plus 5 is equal to 0. All right, but now I'm solving these, so I have to solve and set each one of these products equal to 0 to solve. All right, so I got to take this one more step further because now I'm solving and not just factoring. All right, so I do x plus 3 is equal to 0. So then I'm going to subtract 3 to both sides. And we get x is equal to negative 3. And I'm going to take this other product of x plus 5 and set that equal to 0. And I'm going to solve this by subtracting 5 to both sides. So we get x is equal to negative 5. So I have a solution of negative 3 and negative 5. All right, in example 4 is the same way, right? I'm going to find factors of my last term that add to the middle. All right, so factors mean numbers that multiply to 45, but add to 14. All right, so I'm going to list out those factors of 45. All right, so again, I'm going to look at my factors chart here. All right, 45 is going to be down here at the bottom. All right, so 1 and 45, 3 and 15, and 5 and 9. So 1 and 45, 3 and 15, and 5 and 9. Right, again, this is all positive, so all these factors are just going to be positive. And out of those 3 factor pairs, right, the one that adds to 14 is going to be this 5 and 9. So 5 plus 9 gives me 14, right? So that's what I'm going to put into my parentheses here, all right? So now I can finish factoring this problem by saying that we have x plus 5 times x plus 9 is equal to 0. All right, but I still have to solve it. All right, I'm going to solve it by setting each of these products equal to 0. All right, so I'm going to say that x plus 5 is equal to 0, and I can subtract 5 from both sides. We get x is equal to negative 5. All right, and I can take this other product of x plus 9 and set that equal to 0 as well. And I'm going to subtract 9 from both sides, and we get x is equal to negative 9. All right, awesome. We got 2 more. All right, and actually, why don't we pause the video and you guys try number 5, all right, and go ahead and do the whole thing, right? Factor it and then solve it and write down your 2 solutions. All right, let's see how we did here. All right, so we're looking for factors of 12, or numbers that multiply to 12, but that add to 7. All right, so we're going to list out our factors of 12. We have 1 and 12, we have 2 and 6, and we have 3 and 4. All right, and the pair that adds to 7 is going to be this 3 and 4. All right, so hopefully that's what you found. All right, now I'm ready to factor this, or finish factoring it, right? So we get x plus 3 times x plus 4 is equal to 0. And now I can set each one of these products equal to 0 because of that 0 product property. All right, so now I can subtract 3, and we get x is equal to negative 3. All right, and I'm going to set this other product equal to 0 of x plus 4. All right, then I'm going to subtract 4 to both sides, and we get x is equal to negative 4. All right, and our last one here, right, we get x squared plus 12x plus 32. All right, so we're going to again find factors of our last term. Right, numbers that multiply to 32, but that add to 12. All right, so I'm going to list out all those factors of 32. All right, so again, I'm going to reference my factors chart here. I got 1 and 32, 2 and 16, and 4 and 8. All right, so we get 1 and 32, 2 and 16, and 4 and 8. All right, and when I do that, I should see that 4 plus 8 is equal to 12. So that's my factored pair that I'm going to use to factor this, right? So we can say that x plus 4 times x plus 8 is equal to 0. All right, now I'm ready to solve. All right, now I can say that x plus 4 is equal to 0, or I can say that x plus 8 is equal to 0. All right, nice. Both of these are just one-step equations, right? So you get x by itself. We're going to subtract 4 to both sides. So we say x is equal to negative 4. All right, we subtract 8 here. We subtract 8 there. And x is also equal to negative 8. All right, so those are my two solutions. All right, so time for you guys to practice. All right, again, I'll have 2 additional problems on the homework sheet that are purely going to be optional, that are going to have different signs. All right. And again, as always, email me if you have any questions. And let's just finish up this year strong. All right.